The alien princess stopped cold when she saw me. I discovered why later. The station floated quietly above a blue gas giant, its metal surface reflecting the light of a distant sun. He had never been so far from Earth before, and even after years of training, the feeling of leaving his home planet filled him with both excitement and a quiet tension. He adjusted the collar of his uniform and stepped into the docking chamber, his boots making soft echoes on the polished floor. The station was larger than he expected. Long corridors stretched in every direction, lined with soft, glowing panels that seemed to respond to movement. Alex noticed the smell of ionized air, a faint metallic scent that reminded him of old electronics back home. A small group of humans accompanied him. Lisa, a communications specialist, and Ben, a junior diplomat, both of whom tried to appear calm, though he could see the nervous energy in their faces. They were here to establish contact, to show that humans could be trusted, but Alex could feel the weight of history pressing down on them. Humans had heard stories of the alien empire, tales of beings with strange abilities and centuries of advanced knowledge. And yet here he was, just one man among many, stepping into a world completely unfamiliar. Their escort, a tall alien with shimmering skin and multiple thin arms, led them through the halls. Alex tried to study the architecture. Every surface seemed alive, subtly shifting colors like liquid glass. The air vibrated with a soft hum that resonated in his chest. It was beautiful but strange. Lisa whispered quietly, "I hope we make a good first impression." Ben nodded, fidgeting with a small device in his hand, his fingers betraying his anxiety. Alex simply nodded. He had trained for this, but training could not remove the strange sensation of being watched by eyes that were not human. Finally, they reached the royal chamber. The doors opened with a soft hiss, revealing a wide hall with high ceilings. Light shimmered from the walls, reflecting off surfaces that seemed to float in midair. At the far end, standing on a raised platform, was the alien princess. Her presence was commanding but not intimidating. Her skin glowed faintly, and her hair, or what Alex thought was hair, flowed around her in a motion that seemed almost alive. The moment Alex's eyes met hers, everything else faded. She froze, her hands hovering in the air, and her gaze locked on him as if she had seen something impossible. For a moment, no one spoke. The alien escort stiffened, and even Lisa and Ben paused, unsure of what to do. Alex felt a cold rush of fear and confusion. He had never seen anyone react like this to another person. His mind raced. Had he done something wrong? Had the humans made a mistake by coming here? The silence felt heavy, almost unbearable. He took a cautious step forward, raising his hand slightly in greeting. "Hello," he said softly. His voice sounded small in the vast chamber. The princess's eyes did not move from his face. Her lips parted slightly, and a soft gasp escaped her. She shook her head as if trying to understand what she was seeing, and then, almost imperceptibly, she backed away a few steps. Alex's heart pounded. He had no idea why she reacted this way, but the intensity of her gaze made it feel as though she were staring straight into his soul. The escort cleared his throat, a sound that echoed oddly in the hall. "Princess Alira," he said carefully, "these are the humans we have invited for discussion." Alira's gaze flicked briefly to the other humans, then returned to Alex. There was something in her eyes, recognition, shock, fear. Alex could not tell. He stood perfectly still, unsure whether to move closer or step back. Lisa, noticing the tension, stepped forward and offered a nervous smile. "We come in peace," she said gently. "Our goal is friendship and understanding between our people." The princess finally moved again, slowly lowering her hands, but her eyes never left Alex. She spoke in a soft voice, her words melodic, yet the translator device on Alex's collar converted them instantly into English. "This cannot be," she said. Alex frowned. Her words, though calm, carried weight. The chamber seemed to hold its breath. Ben whispered under his breath, "What does she mean?" Alex did not know. He wanted to respond, to ask what she was thinking, but somehow he felt that the answer might be too much for him to hear right now. Instead, he simply nodded, keeping his expression neutral. The princess took a deep breath and turned slightly to her advisors, speaking rapidly in her own language. The words were sharp and precise, carrying authority that made Alex realize she ruled with intelligence and care. After a moment, she turned back to him, her expression softening slightly but still wary. "You are like them," she said finally. The translator device repeated her words. Alex felt a chill. Like them? Who were they? Before he could ask, the escort stepped forward again. Princess, perhaps we should continue the introductions later. The humans are guests in our station. Elira nodded slowly, her eyes still fixed on Alex. She spoke again, her voice quieter this time. I must understand first. Alex swallowed hard. He had never imagined that a simple introduction could lead to such tension. He looked around the room at the other humans, the alien advisors, the strange technology, and realized that this was more than a meeting. It was a moment where history might change forever. The next hour passed in silence. Alex and the humans were guided to a smaller chamber where they could wait without being watched constantly. Lisa whispered, "What did she mean, like them?" Alex shook his head. "I don't know," he admitted, "but whatever it is, it's big. Bigger than anything we imagined." They sat quietly, listening to the distant hum of the station. Alex could not shake the memory of Elira's gaze, the way she had frozen when she first saw him. It was not anger, not fear in the human sense. It was something else, something ancient, something that seemed to reach across time. As the humans waited, Alex tried to recall any history, any story from Earth or human legend that might explain her reaction. Nothing came to mind. The alien empire had always been distant, mysterious, and powerful. They were said to have seen many worlds, to have known many civilizations. And yet here he was, just one human, and the princess had reacted as if he were connected to something from her past, something she thought was lost. Hours passed, and the humans prepared for the next meeting. Alex found a quiet corner and looked out through the observation window at the swirling gases of the blue giant below. He felt small, almost insignificant, but also strangely important. Whatever connection existed between him and the princess, it was clear that this was only the beginning. The story of humanity's return to the galaxy had already begun, and Alex was at the center, even if he did not yet understand why. The chamber doors opened again, and a messenger entered to say that the princess would see Alex alone. Lisa and Ben exchanged worried looks. Alex took a deep breath. He was about to step into a moment that might define the future, a meeting that could reveal secrets older than humanity itself. And still, he felt a strange pull, a sense that this encounter was inevitable, that he was meant to be here. As he followed the messenger through the winding corridors, he could not help but glance back at the station's main hall, imagining the princess waiting. He wondered what she would say, what truth he might discover. The hum of the station vibrated in his chest, a quiet reminder that this place, so far from Earth, held answers and perhaps questions that no human had faced before. When the messenger finally stopped before a tall door, Alex felt his pulse quicken. He had trained for diplomacy, for negotiation, for first contact scenarios, but nothing had prepared him for this. The door opened, and he stepped into a room filled with soft light. The princess stood there alone, her eyes fixed on him once more. For a moment, neither spoke. Alex felt time slow, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. He could see the subtle movements of her skin, the faint glow in her hair, the way her hands twitched slightly. It was as if she were trying to decide whether he was friend or threat. Then finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper yet carrying weight. "You are unexpected." Alex swallowed. He could feel the tension, the mystery, the sense of history pressing in. He took a careful step forward. "I'm here to help," he said simply, hoping that words could bridge the gap between them. The princess studied him for a long moment, her eyes searching. Then she turned slightly, and Alex noticed a flicker of something almost like recognition. He did not understand it, but somehow he knew that this was the start of something far bigger than either of them could imagine. Alex left the room feeling more confused than ever. The princess had looked at him as if she knew him, as if he were a part of something long forgotten. The words "you are unexpected" repeated in his mind. He had no idea what she meant. Back in the waiting chamber, Lisa and Ben were pacing nervously. "What did she say?" Lisa asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Did she attack you?" Alex shook his head. "No, nothing like that." But she reacted strangely. She froze the moment she saw me, and then she said I was unexpected, that's all. Ben frowned. "Unexpected? What does that even mean? Have we done something wrong?" Alex rubbed his temples. "I don't think it's anything we did. I think it's about me. Or humans, I'm not sure yet." He paused. "Whatever it is, it's serious. The way she looked at me, Lisa, it wasn't fear in the normal sense. It was something else, something old, like a memory." They sat in silence for a while. The station's hum and the soft glow of its panels were the only sounds around them. Alex tried to focus, to think clearly. The humans had trained for first contact situations, but nothing had prepared them for an encounter like this. The alien empire was old, powerful, and mysterious, and now somehow Alex was connected to that mystery. Later, they were escorted to a small dining chamber. The aliens served food that looked strange but smelled delicious. Alex picked up a small piece of fruit, bright blue and soft, and tasted it. Sweetness filled his mouth, unlike anything he had eaten on Earth. Lisa tried a similar piece and smiled. "This is amazing," she said. Ben, on the other hand, poked at the food cautiously, still tense from the earlier encounter. Alex tried to eat, but his mind kept drifting back to the princess. Why had she frozen? Why had she said he was unexpected? He wished he could ask her directly, but he knew that would not be allowed. He needed patience. He needed to understand her world before he could understand her reaction. After the meal, the humans were guided to a quiet chamber for rest. Alex lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. He thought about the stories he had heard of the alien empire, of their long history, their power, their knowledge. And yet the princess had reacted as if humans were something from her past. He tried to remember any ancient history or myth from Earth that could explain it, but nothing fit. The next day, they were called back to the royal chamber for a meeting. The princess was waiting, standing with her advisors. When Alex entered, Alira's gaze immediately found him. This time it was less intense but still full of curiosity. She gestured for him to approach. "I want to understand," she said. Her voice was soft, careful. "Why are you here? Why have humans returned?" Alex paused. "We did not know the empire still existed," he said slowly. "We come in peace. We want friendship, learning, understanding." The princess nodded, but her eyes remained thoughtful. She spoke quickly to her advisors, who whispered among themselves. Alex noticed their eyes flicking to him occasionally, as if watching for signs of danger. The tension in the room was thick, but Alex stood his ground. He had trained for diplomacy, for calm, for patience. He reminded himself that words were his tool, not weapons. After a long moment, Alira returned her gaze to him. "Humans were gone," she said quietly. "Long ago your people vanished. Many believed you were destroyed by your own choices. Your return, it is difficult to believe." Alex swallowed. "We survived," he said simply. "We chose to leave, to hide, to protect ourselves and others. We did not forget our place in the galaxy." The princess studied him as if measuring his words. Then she asked a question that made Alex pause. "Do you know who I am?" Alex frowned. "You are the princess of this empire, I know that much, but beyond that, I do not." Alira shook her head slightly. "You do not understand," she said. "You are like them, yes, like the humans who came before. Seeing you, it brings memories, old memories." Alex's heart skipped a beat. "Memories? You mean humans like me existed here before?" Alira's eyes glistened. "Yes, long ago humans shaped the stars, guided life, fought wars that changed worlds. Then you vanished, and we thought you were gone forever." Alex could barely breathe. He had always believed humans were ordinary, struggling, small in the vast galaxy. But now to hear that humans had once been powerful, influential, and feared, it was almost too much to take in. Why would you react so strongly to me?" Alex asked quietly. "I am just one man." Alira looked at him with a mixture of awe and sorrow. "It is not just you. It is your kind. Your presence reminds us of a past we thought lost. Your eyes, your face, they are the same as the ones who once ruled stars. That is why I froze." Alex nodded slowly, trying to absorb her words. The weight of history pressed down on him. He had never thought of humans as powerful in the galaxy, only survivors. Now he realized that the galaxy remembered humans differently than humans remembered themselves. The meeting ended shortly after, but Alex could feel that nothing would be the same. The princess's advisors whispered among themselves, still wary. Lisa and Ben looked at him with concern. "Do you understand what she said?" Lisa asked. Alex nodded slowly. "She believes humans were once more than we know. She believes we shaped the galaxy. And somehow she sees that in me." The rest of the day passed in a haze of observation and study. The humans were allowed to walk in the station's corridors, escorted but largely free. Alex noticed subtle differences in the aliens' behavior. Guards glanced at him more often, advisors spoke in hushed tones, and children aboard the station seemed drawn to his presence. It was strange and unsettling. That night, Alex lay awake, staring at the soft glow of the room's walls. He thought about Alira, about the words she had said, about the human past she had described. He could feel the weight of expectation, the pressure of history pressing down on him. He wondered if humans were truly capable of the greatness she spoke of, or if they had lost it completely. He remembered a story his grandfather once told him about humans surviving impossible odds, about courage, endurance, and hope. Alex realized that story was not just legend. It was the truth, hidden for generations. Humans had survived, and now somehow their survival had become part of a larger story, one that stretched across the stars. The next morning, the humans were summoned again. This time, Alira spoke to Alex directly, away from her advisors. She explained that rival factions within the Empire questioned the humans' return, claiming they could be dangerous. She asked Alex to show that humans were not only survivors but also capable of restraint, compassion, and understanding. Alex understood. This was more than diplomacy. This was a test, a trial of character. He had to prove that humanity had changed, that humans could be guardians rather than conquerors. It would not be easy. He would need patience, courage, and wisdom beyond what he had ever used before. As he left the private chamber, Alex felt a strange determination. He was no longer just a diplomat or a visitor. He was a symbol of humanity's return. The princess's reaction had marked him as something important, something that could change the future of the galaxy. He knew the road ahead would be difficult. There would be challenges, rival factions, misunderstandings, and danger. But for the first time in his life, Alex felt a deep certainty. He was part of something greater, a story much larger than himself, a story that had been waiting for humans to return. And as the station hummed around him, as the aliens watched and whispered, Alex took a deep breath and prepared for whatever came next. The galaxy had remembered humans, and now humans would have to show that they were worthy of that memory. The day ended with a quiet sense of anticipation. Alex knew that the princess's eyes would follow him, always searching, always judging, always waiting. And in that quiet, he began to understand the responsibility that came with being human in a galaxy that still remembered the legends of old Alex woke early, the soft light of the alien station spilling through the observation window. Below, the gas giant swirled in brilliant shades of blue and green, and the hum of the station vibrated gently in his chest. Today felt different. He had spent the last day trying to understand Alira's words, her meaning, and the weight of history she had placed upon him. He had survived long journeys and dangerous encounters before, but nothing had prepared him for being a symbol of humanity. He dressed quickly and joined Lisa and Ben for breakfast. The alien food was strange but nourishing, and the station seemed quieter than usual. The crew had given humans a limited freedom to explore, but Alex knew that every movement was watched. The aliens' curiosity was polite but intense. He could feel it, like eyes following him even when he thought no one was near. "Do you think we're ready for today?" Lisa asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was soft, almost nervous. Alex shrugged. "I don't know, but we have to be. Whatever test she is planning, we can't fail, not because of us, but because of what humans represent." Ben nodded, though his expression was tense. "I just hope it doesn't involve fighting. We're not here to prove anything with weapons." Alex smiled faintly. "It won't. I think this is about more than strength. It's about choice, about what humans have learned. About who we are now." They walked through the station's corridors, and Alex felt the weight of anticipation. He remembered the princess's eyes, the way she had studied him, the recognition and shock that had frozen her in the first meeting. He could not stop thinking about what she had said. Humans had shaped the stars, fought wars, and vanished. And now, somehow, they had returned. The humans were led to a private chamber. Alira was waiting, her glow softer in the morning light. She nodded as Alex entered. "We must speak," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was tension beneath it. "I need to understand your kind. I need to see what remains." Alex nodded. "I will answer any questions you have." The princess motioned for him to sit. "Long ago," she began, "humans were different. You were feared and admired, your power shaped worlds, and then you vanished. Some believed it was because of choice, others because of failure. We did not know. We only had records and stories, and now you appear again. Your presence brings hope and fear all at once." Alex leaned forward. "I understand. We left for protection to survive. We wanted to keep ourselves and others safe. We did not forget the galaxy. We only waited and we learned." Illyra studied him closely. How did your kind endure? How did you survive hidden and alone? Alex thought for a moment. Humans adapt. We endure. We face loss, danger, failure, and we continue. We learn from our mistakes, and we hold hope even when everything seems lost. That is why we are here now. Not to conquer, but to show we can live in harmony, to help if needed, to prove that we have changed. The princess nodded slowly. Your words, they are honest, but honesty alone is not enough. We have factions here who do not trust your kind. They fear what humans were. And they fear what you may become. To prove your intentions, you must act, not only speak. Your choices will determine whether humans are welcomed or opposed. Alex understood. This was a test of character, of restraint and wisdom. It was not about technology, weapons, or strategy. It was about the essence of humanity. I am ready, he said quietly. I will show you who we are now. Illyra's eyes softened slightly. Then follow me, she said. She led him through winding corridors to a part of the station humans had not yet seen. The halls opened into a large observation chamber overlooking a nearby planet. On its surface, alien civilians moved about, unaware of the subtle danger approaching from a distant orbit. A rogue faction had sent a small force intending to take control of the planet. Alex watched silently. The princess spoke softly. Your people will not use their weapons. You must act with your mind, your decisions, your morality. Show us the change in humans. Alex felt the weight of the moment. He could not command armies or deploy technology. He had only his judgment, his humanity, and his understanding of what was right. He began issuing calm instructions to the station's monitors and communication systems. He guided the planet's inhabitants to safety, coordinating evacuation and defense without violence. Every step was careful, measured, focused on protection, not destruction. Lisa and Ben watched from beside him, amazed. They had trained for emergencies, but nothing like this. Alex's presence inspired confidence, not fear. His calm, reasoned actions prevented panic, and slowly the situation stabilized. The rogue faction's forces, seeing humans act without aggression, hesitated. They had expected fear, chaos, or retaliation. Instead, they encountered patience and intelligence. Illyra watched in silence. Her advisors whispered among themselves. The room was tense, yet Alex remained steady. His choices reflected endurance, compassion, and wisdom. He thought of humans past, their mistakes, their survival, and their hope. He knew that this moment could define humanity's return. Hours passed, and the crisis ended without bloodshed. The rogue faction withdrew, unable to manipulate fear or violence. The planet's inhabitants were safe. Alex felt a quiet satisfaction, but he knew the work had only begun. The princess finally turned to him. You have shown restraint, intelligence, and care. You have acted as a guardian, not a conqueror. My people see now that humans have returned with wisdom, not just strength. Alex nodded. We learned from our history. We survive, yes, but we do not seek to dominate. We want to protect, to help, to prove that humanity can be trusted. Illyra smiled faintly. And you have succeeded. But remember, the galaxy is wide, and not all will see humans as you have shown us. Many will test you, challenge you. But this is the beginning. You have reminded my people that humans were more than stories. You have reminded them that your kind has returned. Alex felt a mix of relief and anticipation. The pressure of being humanity's symbol weighed on him, but he also felt a quiet pride. He had done what was needed. He had not used violence. He had relied on thought, judgment, and compassion. In doing so, he had proven something important. Humans could endure, survive, and act wisely. The princess motioned for him to follow her back to the royal chamber. Along the way, Alex noticed subtle changes. Alien civilians nodded in respect as he passed. Guards and advisors moved aside with a quiet reverence. It was as if the station itself recognized that something significant had occurred. Once in the chamber, Illyra spoke privately. You must know why I froze when I first saw you, she said. It is not only your presence, it is what you represent. Humans like you were once part of the galaxy's greatest stories. Your eyes, your face, your being remind me of those who shaped history. You are a living connection to a past we thought lost forever. Alex listened carefully. He felt a deep sense of connection, as if something unseen had pulled him here. I never imagined humans had such a place in your history, he admitted. I thought we were small, ordinary. But you remind me that we are more than we know. Illyra nodded. Yes, but you must show it always. Words are not enough. Your actions must reflect your values, your endurance, your humanity. That is how humans will regain their place in the galaxy. Alex felt the weight of responsibility, but also a quiet determination. He had learned that humanity's strength was not only survival or technology, but wisdom, compassion, and restraint. The princess had recognized it, and now he would carry that knowledge into the wider galaxy. The day ended with quiet reflection. Alex stood by the observation window, looking at the distant stars, thinking about humanity's past and future. He understood now that humans had been more than survivors. They had once been legends. And now, through him, those legends were beginning again. As the station hummed softly around him, Alex felt a new resolve. He would continue to act with thought, compassion, and courage. He would prove that humans could return not as conquerors, but as guardians. And he would do it not for glory, but because it was right, because it was the essence of humanity itself. The princess watched from a distance, her expression soft, her gaze steady. She understood that this human Alex represented something far greater than one man. He was a symbol, a reminder, a bridge between past and future. And as the stars turned slowly in the galaxy beyond, she knew that the return of humans had begun in earnest the day after proving humanity's restraint. Alex woke early again, the soft hum of the station vibrating in his chest. He knew today would be different. The princess had promised him that his next test would be more challenging. It would not be about technology, about weapons, or about raw strength. It would be about his choices, his judgment, and the essence of what humans had become. Alex joined Lisa and Ben for breakfast. The alien food smelled rich and unfamiliar, but Alex focused more on his thoughts than on what he ate. Lisa looked worried. "Do you think this will be harder than yesterday?" she asked quietly. Alex shook his head. "I don't know, it may be. But I think the real challenge is what we do, not what we face. Yesterday was a start. Today will test whether humans can be wise in the face of fear." Ben nodded slowly. "I just hope we don't fail. If humans fail here, it could undo everything." Alex placed a reassuring hand on Ben's shoulder. "We won't fail. We act with thought, not anger, with care, not power. That is what humans have learned, and that is what will guide us today." They were escorted to the royal chamber again. The Princess Elira was waiting, her expression serious. "You have proven patience and restraint," she said. "But now you will face a trial that tests your heart and mind. A faction in my empire has caused harm to civilians on a neighboring planet. They claim humans are a threat, and they act to enforce fear. Your task is not to fight them with weapons, but to resolve the situation using judgment, strategy, and morality." Alex listened carefully. He understood immediately. This trial was about choice, not combat. It was about proving that humanity had learned from history that humans could act wisely and protect life, not destroy it. The princess led him to the observation deck, overlooking the planet. From above, Alex could see towns, small cities, and the alien inhabitants going about their daily lives. He noticed movement in the skies above the planet, ships of the rogue faction circling, observing, waiting for an excuse to strike. Alex's heart tightened. The civilians below were unaware of the danger, and any rash move could cause chaos. "Your challenge," Elira said, "is to prevent harm without using weapons. Show that humans can guide, protect, and act with wisdom." Alex took a deep breath. He had trained for emergencies, but this was different. This was not simulation. This was real life, real consequences, and the fate of thousands rested on his choices. He began issuing calm, precise instructions through the station's communication systems, contacting leaders on the planet, coordinating evacuation routes, and advising civilians on safe locations. Every instruction was measured, every choice deliberate. Lisa and Ben watched in awe. Alex remained calm, focused, and patient. He was not afraid, though he felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He remembered Elira's words about humans past, about endurance, hope, and compassion. He carried those lessons in every decision he made. The rogue faction attempted to provoke fear, sending warning shots and threats. Alex did not panic. He communicated with them, not aggressively, but with clarity and reason. He explained that civilians were protected, that any aggression would harm their own people, and that cooperation was wiser than conflict. The aliens hesitated, unsure how to respond to a human who acted without aggression but with authority and care. Hours passed, and Alex continued to coordinate every movement. The civilians evacuated safely, following his instructions. Panic was avoided. The rogue faction, frustrated by the lack of fear and chaos, began to withdraw. Alex's choices had prevented destruction without violence. Illyra observed quietly. Her advisors whispered among themselves. Alex's actions reflected the humanity she had hoped to see: wisdom, restraint, and morality. He had proven that humans could face danger and still act with care. After the crisis, the princess summoned Alex privately. "You have shown what humans can do when guided by thought and heart," she said. "You acted without aggression, protected life, and made decisions with clarity. My people see now that humans have returned not only in body but in spirit." Alex nodded. "We learned from our past. We know what it means to lose control, to make mistakes. We act now with care, not with fear or anger. That is the human way." The princess's eyes softened. "Your actions today will be remembered. They will guide my people to trust humans again. But remember, the galaxy is wide. Others will challenge you, doubt you, and fear you. Your choices will define not only yourself, but your entire kind." Alex felt the weight of her words. It was more than responsibility. It was trust, hope, and expectation all at once. He realized that humans were no longer just survivors. They were symbols, guides, and protectors. Every choice he made could show the galaxy what humanity had become. Lisa and Ben returned to him after the private meeting. "That was incredible," Lisa said. "You didn't even raise your voice or use a weapon, and yet everything was safe." Alex smiled faintly. "It's not about power. It's about understanding, patience, and responsibility. Humans survived because we could make wise choices, not because we could destroy. Today, I proved that lesson again, and I hope it reaches beyond this station." Ben nodded. "I think it already has. The princess seems to trust us more. The station feels different now. People, even aliens, look at us differently." Alex knew that was true. The way the crew moved, the way civilians greeted him, and the subtle respect from the princess all indicated that humanity's return was gaining recognition. But he also knew the work was far from over. The galaxy was vast, and not all would welcome humans. Many would doubt, fear, and test them. That evening, Alex stood alone at the observation deck, looking at the stars beyond. The station hummed quietly, the planet below safe for now. He reflected on humanity's past, its mistakes, survival, and lessons learned. He realized that humans had always carried hope and endurance, even in the darkest times. Now, those qualities would guide them in a new chapter, in a galaxy that still remembered their stories. The princess approached silently. Illyra's presence was calm, yet her eyes held a quiet intensity. "You have done well," she said softly. "But the greatest challenges are still ahead. The galaxy will test humans, and your choices will define the future." Alex nodded. "I understand. We will face those tests with care, with wisdom, and with hope. Humans survive because we learn from the past, and we act for the future." Illyra smiled faintly. "Then the galaxy may yet remember humans not as conquerors, but as protectors. You have shown my people that there is strength in restraint and wisdom in patience. Never forget that." Alex looked out at the stars again, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also a quiet determination. He was no longer just a diplomat or a visitor. He was a bridge between past and future, a symbol of humanity's return and a guide for those who had doubted humans. The night passed quietly, and Alex reflected on everything he had learned. The test had not been about victory or defeat. It had been about choice, morality, and courage. Humans had returned not to fight, but to show that they had evolved. And through him, the galaxy would begin to see what humanity could truly be. As the station drifted silently above the planet, Alex felt a deep sense of purpose. He had faced fear, danger, and doubt, and he had acted with wisdom and care. The princess's gaze, always observing, reminded him that every action mattered. He had proven that humanity had learned from the past, and now they were ready to shape the future. The next day would bring new challenges, new tests, and new decisions. But Alex knew one thing clearly. Humanity's strength was not in weapons or technology, but in endurance, morality, and the ability to act with wisdom even in the face of danger. And that strength, he realized, would guide humans as they returned to the stars. The station was quiet in the early morning light. Alex stood by the observation window, looking out at the stars that stretched endlessly across the galaxy. Below, the planet he had helped protect was calm. The rogue faction had withdrawn, and the civilians were safe. Yet, Alex knew that the real journey was only beginning. Humans had returned, but the galaxy had yet to accept them fully. Alira approached silently, her presence calm but commanding. "Today," she said, "your actions will be remembered. My people have seen your wisdom and restraint, but now it is time to show the galaxy who humans are. You are not only representatives of your kind, Alex, but symbols of hope, patience, and understanding." Alex nodded. He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had never asked for this, but he understood it was larger than himself. Humans had survived, hidden, and learned, and now they would step forward into a galaxy that both feared and admired them. The princess led Alex and the humans to the central hall of the station, where representatives from neighboring worlds had gathered. The room was vast, filled with alien leaders, diplomats, and curious observers. Whispers spread quickly as Alex entered, the human's presence drawing attention. Even among the aliens, his calm, confident demeanor commanded respect. Alira stepped forward to address the assembly. "These humans," she said, her voice carrying authority, "have returned not as conquerors, not as threats, but as guardians. They have shown wisdom, restraint, and courage. We have seen their actions, and we have learned that humans have endured and changed." Alex stood quietly beside her. He felt the eyes of hundreds upon him, judging, curious, cautious. He remembered the trials, the moments when choices mattered more than strength, and the lives he had helped protect. Every step he had taken had led to this moment. One of the alien representatives, a tall figure with pale, shifting skin, spoke next. "And yet," the voice echoed, "humans were once feared, powerful, dangerous. How can we trust that nothing will change?" Alex stepped forward, speaking carefully but with conviction. "We understand your fear," he said. "Humans were once powerful, yes, but power alone is nothing without wisdom. We have survived because we learned, because we endured, and because we chose restraint. We are here to protect, to help, and to show that humans have returned not to conquer, but to guide and serve where we can." A silence followed. The assembly absorbed his words, weighing them, testing them. Alex could feel the tension, but he also sensed something else: curiosity, hope, and a recognition of the truth in his voice. Alira smiled faintly. "Listen to him," she said. "Humans have faced darkness and survived. Their actions show who they are, not just what they were. Today, you have the choice to accept them as guardians of peace and wisdom, or to reject what you cannot yet understand." Another representative, this one smaller and with golden eyes, stepped forward. "If humans are truly changed, let them show it. Let their actions guide us, not words alone. We will judge by deeds." Alex nodded. He understood. Words had their place, but proof came from actions. The trials, the protection of civilians, the restraint in the face of danger, those were the deeds that mattered. And now the assembly could see them clearly. The next hours were filled with discussion, observation, and demonstrations. Humans and aliens worked together, exchanging knowledge, showing techniques for safety, communication, and coordination. Alex guided the humans carefully, ensuring every step reflected patience, intelligence, and care. The assembly watched closely, many skeptical, some hopeful, but all aware that this was different from past encounters. Alira observed silently, her gaze steady on Alex. She had seen his choices, his careful actions, and the humanity in every decision. She realized that humans had returned not only in body, but in spirit. Their endurance, patience, and morality were visible, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. By late afternoon, the atmosphere in the chamber began to shift. Whispers of doubt turned into murmurs of respect. Representatives who had doubted humans' intentions began to see the truth. Humans were not the same as before. They had survived, learned, and returned with wisdom. They had endured centuries of isolation and hardship, and now they were capable of guiding, protecting, and acting with morality. Alex felt a quiet satisfaction, though he remained humble. This was not about glory or praise. It was about proving the essence of humanity, hope, endurance, and choice. He had acted not for recognition, but because it was right. And now, the galaxy was beginning to recognize it as well. Alira stepped forward to close the assembly. "Today," she said, "humans have reminded us of their place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as threats, but as guardians, teachers, and allies. We welcome them not with fear, but with trust and with hope for a shared future." A wave of quiet acknowledgement spread through the room. Some representatives bowed slightly, others offered gestures of respect. Alex noticed that even the skeptics were listening now, their expressions thoughtful. The shift was subtle but significant. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were returning as part of the galaxy's story. After the assembly, Alex walked with Alira through the corridors of the station. The atmosphere was calmer, warmer. Crew members and citizens alike greeted him with polite nods, a quiet acknowledgement of his role. "You have done more than I expected," Alira said softly. "You have shown my people that humans are worthy of trust. But remember, the galaxy is still wide and many do not know you yet. Your choices will continue to shape perceptions, but today you have opened a door." Alex nodded. "I understand. Humans will continue to act with care, patience, and wisdom. We will show the galaxy that we have learned and that we return not to dominate but to guide and protect." Alira smiled faintly. "Then the future is brighter than we imagined. Humans have returned not only as survivors but as symbols of hope." That evening, Alex stood by the observation window again, watching distant stars twinkle like tiny beacons in the dark. He thought about humanity's past, its mistakes, its survival, its lessons, and about the future they were stepping into. Humans had endured, learned, and returned stronger, not with weapons or conquest, but with wisdom, patience, and morality. Lisa and Ben joined him, both looking tired but relieved. "You did it," Lisa said quietly. "The assembly, they saw us. They understand now." Alex shook his head slightly. "It's not just me. It's humanity. We survived, we learned, and now we show the galaxy who we are. This is only the beginning. The journey will continue, but today we proved something important. Humans have returned with purpose." Ben smiled. "And the princess, she trusts us. She believes in humans again." Alex looked back at Alira, who was standing a short distance away, watching quietly. Her calm gaze held approval, but also caution. She had seen what humans were capable of, but she also knew the galaxy would continue to test them. Alex understood that trust had to be earned every day with every choice. He felt a deep sense of responsibility, but also hope. Humans had returned, and now the galaxy remembered them not as conquerors, but as protectors, teachers, and symbols of endurance. Every action, every choice would shape the story that humanity would write among the stars. As the night deepened, Alex reflected quietly. He realized that humans' greatest strength had never been weapons, technology, or sheer power. It had always been endurance, hope, and the ability to choose wisely even in the darkest moments. That was the gift they carried back into the galaxy, and it was more important than anything else. Alira approached one last time, her voice soft but steady. "Humans are no longer forgotten," she said. "Today they are remembered. Your actions have ensured that. Your kind will shape the future if you continue to act with wisdom and heart." Alex nodded. "We will. Humans have learned, and we will show the galaxy that we are worthy not through force, but through care, understanding, and endurance. That is who we are." The princess smiled faintly, a mix of relief, pride, and quiet hope. "Then the galaxy will be ready to remember humans not as a threat, but as allies, as guardians, as friends, and that is a beginning worth celebrating." Alex turned back to the window, watching the stars. He knew that this was only the start. Challenges would come, dangers would test them, and the galaxy would not always welcome humans easily. But humanity had returned, stronger, wiser, and guided by choice, endurance, and hope. And through him, through every human action, that legacy would grow. As the station drifted silently above the planet, Alex felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans had survived the past, proven themselves in the present, and now had the chance to shape the future. The princess's eyes, always observing, reminded him that responsibility never ended, but hope was real. And in that quiet moment among the stars, Alex understood that humanity's story was just beginning. The galaxy had remembered humans. And humans, guided by wisdom and endurance, would never be forgotten again.